What it do, my G's? This is Glad Gaming, and this is my review / overview of SAO Lycoris. I'll be talking about the core gameplay, combos, weapons, customization, enemies, and the world as a whole, as well as problems I encountered while playing, and my thoughts on the game in general. Now let's start here with the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty simple, but it'll take a bit of trial and error to get to all the mechanics that SAO Lycoris has. It's pretty different, but if you play Final Fantasy, it's similar to that, so you should understand what I mean when it comes to that if you played that game. So if you never played these type of games, it might take a bit of getting used to, but other than that, it's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. The chain burst combos you can use is very fun to use and fulfilling when you pull it off, but we'll get more into that later. Essentially, this is a monster hunter. You go from point A to B killing monsters and exploring the world, but so far the fights don't seem to bore me. You unlock skills for your weapon and character through a pretty extensive skill tree that leaves you plenty of things to experiment with. The combos can feel a little slow at times, but I think that's by design so it won't be a button mash fest, which is understandable. I also want to state how as you explore, you also have to sometimes find ways to maneuver up mountains and things like that to find special chests and special statues that'll give you different upgrades. And I like how they did that, even making that a challenge as well. Once you get through the first chapter, there's no more hand-holding, and leveling doesn't come easy, nor does gaining different moves and powers. This game really wants you to dedicate yourself if you want to get stronger and not get clapped by these monsters. The monsters get pretty strong as you progress and usually travel in packs of 2 or more at a time, so I suggest leveling as much as you can before moving on too far, especially if you're playing solo. But don't let that scare you. Once you get a good grind and your power level grows, the same enemies you thought were difficult before, you'll melt through easily. Speaking of melting enemies, let's get into these combos. For the most part, you'll be spamming square for your basic attacks, but the fun stuff comes in with the weapon arts, the sacred arts, and the special arts, as well as the combo burst links you get while linking your weapon art with your partner. Now these combo burst links really deal a lot of damage, and from my personal experience, I could link about 3 chain bursts in one combo with Alice as my partner. These combos really are important and will be where you'll be getting a big chunk of your damage to the enemy. So always try to link and keep an eye on your AI's health bar as well as their SP bar, therefore you know when to activate your link, because you don't want to activate your link and your AI goes in and gets killed, or you don't want to try to activate your link and your AI doesn't have enough SP because it won't allow you to activate it, therefore you may get stopped in your tracks and take a hit, which has happened to me a couple times. It takes some getting used to get your combo links perfectly, but once you find an AI that you want to use constantly and figure out the moves that'll get you to a good combo burst, just spam that as much as you can and you should be able to do it each and every time with perfect timing. Alright, now on to the sacred arts. Your sacred arts are basically magical abilities that you get to use alongside your combos. These abilities are pretty cool. You have one that heals, as well as elemental ones like fire, water, and ice, and a few others that are pretty cool and that can come in handy in battle sometimes. They each have up to 3 levels, and each level gives you a different power in the realm of that magic ability. You unlock the levels by finding and speaking to goddess statues hidden around the map, so be aware to check each statue for a possible upgrade. Now there's 3 problems with these arts. 1, as cool as they look, they're not very powerful. 2, they take long as hell to charge and to activate, especially when you get to level 2 and above of these abilities. And 3, the elemental effects seem to have no greater or lesser effect on different enemy types. So as helpful as they can be sometimes, they can also seem pretty useless, especially in a fast-paced fight where you won't have time to step back and charge up your ability. Now the best way to get a chance to charge up your ability is if you're in multiplayer and you're not receiving aggro from any of the enemies. Will probably be the only time you get a chance to charge it up and use it, especially if you're trying to get it to level 3 where it's the most powerful. Now this may sound like I don't like the sacred arts, but I really actually love them, and these are just the gripes I have just in case anyone hears it and wants to go back and fix them. So my problems are that I think need to be fixed is they need a faster charger speed, more damage, and elemental effects should actually affect different types of enemies. If I'm fighting an ice enemy and I use a fire move, the fire should have a greater effect on the ice enemy, as well as leave residual burn damage, or if I use ice, it should leave a residual freeze effect, as if like the character starts to move slower due to being frozen. That's all I have for the Sacred Arts. Hopefully these things get fixed, or hopefully someone hears it and at least gets it to the devs to at least consider it. Now, another important part of combat is your special arts, like your super art and your ultimate weapon art. These are essentially your special attacks. Super art slows time and buff your character, allowing you to chain together some crazy combos. The special weapon art puts you into a cutscene on contact with the enemy, where you do an ultimate move dealing massive amounts of damage. Now, the special weapon art may seem like the immediate go-to each and every time you get your meter up, but as I said earlier, combos are really important in this game, so utilize your super art as well as your special weapon art in order to deal a lot of damage due to you getting off godly combos with your super art in slow motion and being able to link your combo burst with your AI a lot easier. So enough about combos, let's get on to the weapons. There are a couple different types of weapons. There's a one-handed sword, there's an axe, there's bows, the weapon I use, which is a whip, daggers, rapiers, and a few others I can't think of right now, I believe. But you can also dual wield your swords, which will give you a whole nother set of moves you can do. Each of these weapons have their own unique skill tree that you must level to get extra moves with, as well as gain proficiency with that weapon to unlock a special move that comes with the weapon. All of the weapons seem pretty fun to use, but the ones I've seen in action the most are the bow, the one-handed sword, the dual-wield swords, due to me playing with friends who main those weapons, and my main weapon, the whip. And each weapon seems very unique and all seem to play a great role in dealing damage to your enemies. Now, weapons aren't cheap and aren't easy to find or obtain. You may get lucky and find a good one in the shop, but you have to have a decent amount of money. Other than that, you can get them through successfully opening chests and fighting high-level field bosses. The weapon animations look pretty good and the attacks all feel satisfying. Now, I would recommend finding and grinding out your fave weapon first, because it takes a while to get your proficiency up and unlock every move for that weapon. So take your time grinding your fave weapon before moving on to the next one if you feel the need to. Also, a word of advice is to keep a whip even if you don't plan on using it. Keep it in your inventory regardless, because sometimes you'll have to use it to double as a grappling hook to get somewhere you need to go. Now that we've gotten through that part of the video, let's talk customization. And to be honest, it's pretty lackluster, especially compared to the previous game, Fatal Bullet. Now, I'm sure later on more things will be added as they did with Fatal Bullet, but it's pretty simple as of now. You take the model of Kirito and alter it as much as you can, but clothes are scarce and armor you acquire throughout the game is not cosmetic, so don't waste your time looking at armor that you may like to buy it and change your outfit. Only buy it if you really need it. I believe the only way to get cosmetics right now is through real money, and as of making this video, the store isn't open for SAO, so you can't buy anything as of yet. So the customization is not a highlight of this game at all. It's all pretty generic right now. Hopefully it gets better with time, but as of right now, people are either running around in special cosmetics they got from a special edition of the game or a generic one of Kirito's outfit. So if you're really into cosmetics, this game doesn't have a lot of them, but that shouldn't stop you from playing the game, because I'm sure more will be added later. There's this guy named Les that I talked to in one of the Discord servers, and he already put a few of the outfits in the server, so I'm sure there will be more later. We just gotta figure out how to get them, and we have to wait to get them. That's pretty much all I have for cosmetics. Now we'll be talking about the enemies and the world as a whole. Now, so far the enemies that I've seen have been pretty interesting. They could feel generic at times, but the special ones seem really special and look really cool. Now, when I say it's generic monsters, it's because the game does have your run-of-the-mill giant spiders and giant other bugs to fight, and in different areas, they have the same monsters with different names but no different abilities. Like in a grassy map, you may see a regular bird creature, but on the snow map, it's called a snowbird, but his moves are the same as the regular birds. You tend to find the most unique creatures in story mode and taking on field bosses and special beasts you find around the world. And even though some monsters are generic, it's understandable because every game needs fodder, and due to it being so many generic monsters, when the unique monsters show up, it's even more exciting. Now, the unique monsters aren't scarce. There's plenty of unique monsters to fight, and you'll see more as you progress through the game. So don't think you'll be fighting the same monsters over and over and over again without a switch up. The different monsters are also very fun to fight. They all have their own patterns and will give you a run for your money if you don't catch on to that pattern or can't figure out how to dodge it. And though moves are telegraphed so you can dodge, in the heat of battle, it gets kind of hard to see an attack coming in, especially if they're small creatures. Now, every creature, due to them not having arms and legs, of course, is a little bit harder to see their moves compared to fighting a human NPC. But once you get onto their pattern, nothing's unbeatable, nothing's too OP. Leveling is important, so if you're too low of a level, you should know not to take on the fight. But if your level's there, you should be able to have a good time and handle that fight. Moving on to the world. The world as a whole is pretty cool. It's semi-free roam, meaning you have to pass through portals and get a loading screen when going from location to location. But each stage is pretty big and there's plenty of caves and high mountaintops to explore. Now, some of the stages look the same as the last, but like I said about the enemies, the unique ones are there and they do stand out. There's one location in particular where lightning is striking constantly that looks cool, but I don't think the game can handle it just yet. Everyone in my party crashed or froze on that map. I believe it's due to it being too much going on that map, but other than that, the stages are all fun to explore and find what new and different monsters you'll encounter there. Also, it seems like there are plenty of locations so far, and I don't think I've even seen them all. I'm still progressing through the story, and you unlock locations as you progress. So you should have enough places to go to if you progress through the story enough when you're ready for a change of scenery after being on one board for too long, so you don't get bored and the game doesn't feel stale. All in all, the maps are good, the locations are good. I love the free roam aspect of it, especially the fact that you can free roam in those worlds with your friends. You don't have to be doing specific missions, so it's really fun. I like the design they went with. It really feels and looks like SAO. If you're a fan of the anime, you may have the same sentiment. It really feels like you're in that world. It really looks like you're in that world, and I really like it. I like the things that are in the background that you can see, adding more character to the world. You definitely can tell that they worked hard on these maps and these boards, even though some of them may look and feel the same. Small complaint though, the big bosses scattered around the map will automatically stop you in place if you run through their area during multiplayer free roam, which gets kinda annoying, especially because it spawns you somewhere other than where you were and slows your game for nothing. And you also have to try to dodge the area in order to avoid it, or it will end up stopping you again. It will stop you every time you walk in the area, which I think should be changed. You shouldn't stop moving unless you accept the mission. Then it should stop you once you accept it. And sometimes the mission can even be right in front of somewhere you need to go, so it'll slow your game down. You'll spend 2-3 minutes trying to avoid that so you can get what you need and get out of there and go on to wherever you were trying to go to begin with. But again, that's just a small complaint, nothing too bad. Now, speaking of small complaints, we're moving on to the next topic. Let's talk about bugs. So far, I've encountered a significant amount of bugs while playing, and some are expected and even funny when others are game breaking. And as far as lag goes, it hasn't bothered me much throughout my time playing the game, and I put in a lot of hours so far since release. So let's start talking about the small bugs like crashes, Crash is odd thing in this game. You may crash more than others, but you will crash, and or your entire game will freeze, resulting in you closing the app and sometimes even losing progress because you didn't save. Another bug is your character will sometimes get stuck under the map. Luckily, if you switch to another character, there is a reconvene button that will call the character back to your side no matter what or where they are. Another bug I see while I'm in free roam sometimes is you can't see the enemy your partners are fighting. It will look like they're fighting the air sometimes when they're fighting the same enemy as you or entire other enemy that didn't pop up on your map. All these should be easy fixes though. Now let's get into the big stuff. One of the biggest and most annoying bugs on this game that I've encountered is getting locked from your character. I talked about the super art earlier that slows time, and sometimes when you activate it, I guess if you move too fast, the game will lock you out of your characters and computer will take control of them, leaving you vulnerable to get attacked and figuring out how to fix it. Sometimes it's fixable, but one time it was so bad I had to close app mid boss fight. And more times than 3, I can say that I've died because of it. Not realizing that I got stuck in place or not realizing that it wasn't me controlling my character. I got killed because when computer takes control, your character doesn't really do much but stand there and do his weapon arts for the most part. Now another big problem is monsters getting stuck in objects on the map. One time while playing, me and my co-op partner beat a boss into a wall where it got stuck and then reset randomly behind us with full health after us getting his health almost to mid depletion, which would have made me mad, but we knew it was going to be an easy win. But anybody else who was having a hard time with that particular boss may have rage quit or something because of that, because it started back at full health, and I would understand why they got so mad. Other than that though, the game's running pretty smoothly for me on my PS4 Pro. It's not a lot of lag like I heard people talking about. Frame drops don't really bother me much, and it's running a lot more smoothly than I expected, especially this early in release where most games come out really buggy, especially a game from Bandai where, you know, Bandai drops the ball sometimes if you play Bandai games. So with all that being said, here are my overall feelings about the game. I think we got a banger here. This is one of the best anime games that I've played as of recently. I even like this version of SAO video games better than the last version that dropped, which is Fatal Bullet, and I love Fatal Bullet, so that's saying a lot. I'm really having fun playing through it, especially with my friends. I love the multiplayer aspect. I love the combat. I'm really enjoying myself just grinding through levels, fighting the different bosses, working through the story mode, seeing what they have in store for me. The story mode picks up a lot after the first chapter when it gets into the original story. I really enjoy it. I recommend it if you like SAO, the anime, if you like anime games, if you like MMORPGs, if you like Monster Hunters. This game is here for you. I believe you'll enjoy yourself. It's really good. It's worth the full price. It's worth the buy right now at full price. And that's a lot. That's me saying a lot, because a lot of games don't come out worth the 60. This game came out worth the 60, and even though customization is very scarce, and that's how much I like the game, because customization is really important to me, especially in games with CAC. So I really think you should purchase it if you're into any of those things. Don't let it go by. Don't let time waste wondering if you're going to get it. If you're thinking about getting it, I think you should get it. I really enjoy it. I'm happy I bought it. I'm happy I made this purchase. I feel like it didn't disappoint me, and I was really skeptical on buying it at first. It didn't disappoint me. It exceeded my expectations. I haven't even gotten super far into the game. It's a really big game, so there's a lot to do on this. This video is pretty long because I wanted to give reasons. I really wanted to do this review justice and give reasons of why I like this and why I don't like that, and even if some devs may be listening, reasons of things that I think should be fixed. But yeah, man, I definitely recommend it. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you have stuck around this long, I know this video is really long. Like, comment anything that you want to talk about this game, anything I missed. Subscribe if you feel like it. More SAO vids to come. See you guys in the next video.